This dance is more than entertainment. Its purpose is to make you think about how oil companies are destroying the environment, to make you think about how environmental destruction hurts women around the world. And while using dance might not result in bills or ballots, it can achieve social change.
One person actually said to me, when they saw our last production, Morichika, which was about oil, she thought, in the middle of the production, she said to herself, I have to go home and throw out everything that contains petroleum jelly. And she said nothing, no amount of lecture or data that she had encountered had made her do that.
Morichika, Season of Mirage, featured dancers, their bodies twisting and trembling like seabirds caught in an oil slick.
Arts reveal something that is at the depth of the human experience and our relationship with nature that is perhaps not about logistics. It's a spiritual, emotional experience. So that's why the arts are the best way to reveal that.
Ananya Dance Theatre is a Twin Cities-based dance company founded in 2004 that builds community and social justice for women of color. Kolkata native Ananya Chatterjea believes that social justice dance means traveling to uncomfortable places, both on stage and in the audience.
Dance for social justice entails that you constantly investigate your own process, that you figure out where you're creating access, for whom and why. We're artists. So we are not responsible for legislative shifts. That's not the work we do. Our work is in opening the ground, creating a space for questions, for provoking discussion, and for offering images that then resonate in people's minds. So the way in which we understand our impact is when audiences come back year after year to see the work, when audiences come for a community conversation.
The company's impact is measured in ideas and emotions. According to Vicki Benson at the McKnight Foundation, which support Ananya's work, she and her dancers embody the struggles and the injustice that are at the root of the story that Ananya tells through movement.
She's allowed a space of cultural activists, people who really delve into their communities in different ways and bring that into the work, into the movement, into the sweat of the space.
The power of dance is that it tells stories that are not realistically told, right? So there's a story, but it's not like, Jack and Jill, not the sort of linear story. It's metaphoric, so it's revealed through images that can have many interpretations. But it could be many people's story, and therefore it suddenly clears a space where many people's minds can meet, and some deep aspects of humanity, of human life, are suddenly revealed to you. To me, that's the power of dance. It's metaphor, it's physical immediacy.
The company uses allegory and movement on stage to show how struggles for natural resources around the world leads to violence and environmental destruction, particularly against women.
This became an investigation of how women in global communities of color experience and resist systemic violence. And we started to look at it through 4 things, land, gold, oil, and water. The way in which these natural elements have been marked as commodity has made for tremendous systemic violence across the world. Putting those stories out there is part of shifting the cultural landscape.
Many dances are developed by members of the company and are inspired by scenes they've witnessed or struggles in their lives.
And I did a solo called Bird, just from seeing images and reading stories of tragic things happening to the environment as a result of oil spills. It's very, inspired by the image of a hopeless sort of bird that was contorted and frozen in a very otherworldly way.
As the performance is coming close, the issues seem to be bubbling up. When we were working on oil, the BP disaster that happened, and we were talking about and researching about oil before the disaster.
Water and the sanctity and health of rivers around the world is a frequent topic of dances.
These are waters that are charged with spiritual healing, but there's a lot of industrial pollution, so we're investigating that and also celebrating water. What is it about the Mississippi? We look at the Mississippi for so long, thinking this water flows through our city. It gives us life, it gives us electricity, it gives us so much. And how can we care for it? Our dance becomes an offering.
Ananya Dance Theatre joined the River Walkers late this winter as they walked from the headwaters of the Mississippi to the river as it flows through Minneapolis.
This is very important, drawing attention to what's going on in our cities, in our Mississippi River, which flows through our lives.
For the dancers in the company, perhaps Ananya's greatest impact has been to create a safe space for women of color.
Ananya's been a great resource in terms of bringing people, women of color especially, together in a space that we can really complicate politics and learn from each other.
Women of color in particular and women in global communities respond to violence, respond not just to physical violence on themselves, but to environmental injustices and also social injustices.
Women of color have something to say to each other. We have a movement to build together. Communities of color are often put at loggerheads with each other. So how do we say, well, let's build a different history, a history of alliance, history of cooperation, history of listening to each other?
Ananya Dance Theatre's performances often resonate deeply with audience members and cause change within them.
The work is painful and exhausting. It gives back to you as well when we talk to audiences and we hear reactions.
Reactions like that of Cindy Garrick at the Guggenheim Foundation, who called the company's work beautiful and strong with an unusual aesthetic that engages community. Yet the company faces a constant struggle not to be viewed as mere entertainment and not to be confused with Bollywood popular Indian dance.
Most people have an expectation of dance as entertainment and as an escape from reality. And what Ananya does is really drill into reality. It's not entertainment, it's not pretty dances that we make, but it's a response, maybe a visceral response to the realities of the issues that are happening in our environments. You can both be artistically excellent and work in community and be social justice advocates and supporters and not lobbying the Capitol or, marching on Washington.
Audiences sometimes struggle with that genre, Indian contemporary dance, because Indian dance has become so fixed in people's minds either as classical dance or as Bollywood, right? Like Bollywood, we're interested in a contemporary expressivity, but we're not interested in objectifying women. Water has been a theme in my work, both in terms of understanding the force and flow of femininity, something that wears rocks down, but also is all about flow. Water is very important. And I know at one point we had created water where we had flooded the stage with water. And it was not in my mind at all, but someone said, oh, that's the wet sari dance. That's a nice take on the wet sari dance in Bollywood. I was shocked. The first thing I do is check. I want to make sure that no one is here thinking they're in Bollywood class, right?
Ananya Dance Theatre aims to combat sexism and violence against women, but also show that the arts are about more than entertainment. They can have spontaneous impact.
Change and activism in the arts is valuable, and it's also these moments that we create that you can't recreate.